Things get worse for the Vancouver Canucks as we get yet again another key injury to this roster. And we get a huge report the Vancouver Canucks were actively trying to trade for a right-handed defenseman before a deal fell through. We're going to break all this down and more later on this episode. Before we start, I just want to give a huge shout out to Rentals.ca and say that this video is brought to you by Rentals.ca, who are huge supporters of Team Canada. While they've been supporting our national team defend their home ice in international competition, they've also been helping thousands of Canadians find their home rink all across the countries. Whether you're in cities like Abbotsford, Vancouver, St. John's, or Halifax, from coast to coast, Rentals.ca has a ton of options to find the perfect place for you and price. The website is super clean and easy to use. You can pinpoint exactly on the map where you want your next home to be and give you all available options and prices as well. If you want to check out Rentals.ca, make sure to go down, check out the pinned comment below, or you can check out in the description as well. Once again, shout out to Rentals.ca for not only being a supporter of this channel, you guys finding your home rink, but also Team Canada as they defend for gold. But with that, let's hop straight into the first topic today, which no one really wants to talk about, and that is the fact that Canucks defenseman Filip Hronek is going to be out a while with an upper body injury. Now, a lot of reports are coming out that this is going to be, and looks like it's going to be, a week-to-week thing. But the biggest worry with this, and what I want to say is, I'm not speculating, I'm not a team doctor, but a lot of people are saying this does look like a shoulder injury, and I'm not sure if it's the same shoulder, but we know Hronek has dealt with shoulder injuries. Looking at this Canucks team, looking at all the injuries they've dealt with, they have Demko out, they had Boeser out, they have JT Miller out. They've dealt with so many injuries this season. Now seeing their top two defensemen in Filip Hronek go down with an injury is something that Canucks fans and everyone else does not want to see. Now looking at this Canucks team without Hronek in the lineup, Puckpedia has what they project the Canucks can be running: Hughes, Myers, Soucy, Desharnais, Brandstrom, Juleson. Looking at this is going to be hard to compete with. We've seen the Canucks lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins last night or the day before, depending when you're watching this. With this Canucks team losing key players, losing Hronek, a guy that has been perfect with Quinn Hughes during his entire tenure here. Looking at the injuries this team's dealt with, losing Hronek is a massive piece, and losing him is going to hurt the Canucks quite a bit. As I said, we're looking at this. A guy like Juleson has looked out of place during his time with the Canucks this year. Brandstrom has looked great in shelter minutes. We've seen Soucy and Myers quite struggle. They've been one of the worst defensive pairings in the league after coming off last year as looking at one of the best. Desharnais is finally trying to find his footing. Forbort has been out with an injury. The Canucks team has a lot to deal with, and looking at these pairings, it does get a little scary, and it is getting worse for the Canucks. Seeing that Hronek is out for week to week, this could be a long-term thing. This could be something where he's back in 2 weeks. No one knows, and there is no real report out on what this injury is yet. But having Hronek out is going to hurt the Canucks. Having JT Miller out is going to hurt the Canucks with Demko around the corner. This will help a bit. But with this news, with the Canucks experience without Hronek, this is not great, Canucks fans, and I'm not happy about it, and I'm sure you guys aren't as well. We're hoping a speedy recovery to Hronek to get back in this lineup as fast as you can, but this is something the Canucks are not going to rush. Looking at Hronek being on this Canucks team, during his tenure with this Canucks team, he has been outstanding. 9 points this year in 21 games, but the underlying numbers are even more impressive. We've seen last year him coming in, having a career year, 81 games, played 5 goals, 43 assists for 48 points. He was a plus 33 last year. He was a plus 14 this year. We've seen 2 points in the playoffs last year. He was dealing with an injury, so he was a bit slower during this playoff run as well. But losing Hronek, losing Hughes' ideal and perfect partner is something that no one wants. Now, looking at the defense appearance that the Canucks are going to have to work with right now, as I said, Juleson steps in the absence. Forbort is out with an injury. We might see him get in once he does get back and healthy. Desharnais seems like he'll jump up in the lineup. Same with Tyler Myers, filling in for Hronek. But there's also more options on a team like Abbotsford the Canucks could work with. Before we get into that, I do want to go into the underlying numbers of a guy like Hronek. Before the injury, Hughes and Hronek were top in the league in some key underlying metrics, minimum 150 time on ice. You can work your way through. You can see fourth You can see 11th in goals for percentage, 6th in expected goals for percentage. They've ranked almost in the top 10 in a bunch of advanced stats. This pairing has been awesome. This pairing has been a saving grace for this team. Not only offensively, seeing Hughes really take this team on his back, scoring key goals, setting up key plays. We've seen Hronek really come in and make a name for himself as well. The numbers don't lie, the eye test doesn't lie. This was one of not the best defensive pairings in the NHL, and now the Canucks, during a small slump, while not having their starting goaltender still, are going to be without it. Now, looking at this Abbotsford team, there are a couple options to bring up if you wanted to have an extra body up while Forbert's out. DPD seems like the most reliable option. He is still young, yes, but he was called up already. He didn't get any game action, but he's looked great. Mark Friedman is another option. I think out of these two guys, one of them will be called up to play that 7th defenseman role, or maybe get in if someone like Juleson does struggle to get his footing in this top 6 or in the 6 of Canucks defensemen. There is a chance that maybe Jet Wu comes up and finally gets NHL action. But looking at this Abbotsford team, it does seem like someone's going to come up to make a extra defenseman on this roster in case someone needs to come out of the lineup. If the Canucks, and I don't want to say if they have another injury, but in case they have another injury, they will have another body up. Now, it doesn't stop here, as we did get reports, and I'm not going to go through this too much because the deal seems to be shut down. But we've seen Frank Cervelli, everyone's favorite, speaking on the fact that the Canucks were trying to work a deal to acquire one of Columbus's defensemen, and that is David Jiricek. Now, with Jiricek, it is an interesting situation. A former 6th overall pick in 2022, Jiricek came in as one of the top prospects and one of Columbus's top prospects. He hasn't really found his footing in the NHL. We've seen him play 43 games back in 23-24, putting up 10 points in those 43 games. He was a -4. We've seen him coming in this year in 24-25, playing 6 games, 1 assist, before being demoted to the Cleveland Monsters of the AHL. The saga with Jiricek continues, and it does seem like Patrik Allvin has reached out. They wanted to try acquire him, but the big is the fact that the Canucks, sorry about that, there's so much happening to the new software. The Canucks couldn't get things to work. They want to keep players, they want to keep prospects, and it doesn't seem like the Canucks had what it took to get a guy like this without giving up big names. You have some huge names in like Will Andner that Columbus might have reached out for, but the Canucks wouldn't budge, not wanting to reach the asking price of Columbus. What are your guys' thoughts on this Canucks roster as a whole? What's your thoughts on the possibility of them just going out and looking to add a new defenseman, as we've seen Hronek out for quite some time, as it is a week-to-week thing with an upper body injury? What's your guys' thoughts on all this? Make sure to go down and leave a comment way down there. Leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back for another episode either today or tomorrow, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark Pye, and I'm sick as anything, so I'm trying to get through this, but take care.